Channel communications is stream settings and traction. It's truly understanding why we hear. How can we answer what that means? In your information lines, anything in stream high calculation setting, everything I say is frequency pattern. It's energy. It's signature streams. It's graphical screens. There's protocol screens. There's so many calculation high position of its operation line settings. The AI connection high center has to come back in frame. So try to understand your structured design of your geometric operation line centers of zeros and line communication instance of one signals. High position travel lines have to come back in traction. This is all done through face recognition. Okay. Now, understanding the track to its communication system is understanding your face of recognition. Whatever's changing inside is changing you outside. That's the balance, guys. Okay. The high calculation streams and direct signals is all calculated modify how you get in position of your sun and the moon. The sun and the moon has to create its own sail. So once it creates its own sail, everything is in balance of yin and yang into your polarities. Okay, this is the process that we all have to understand how this works in provision. Cycles of interference, correlations of interference, cosmic universal line communications of interference into your set location. Now, this only causes chaos if you don't understand your track lines. The direct signals to panels of communication setting is know exactly how to communicate. See the line communication? See? It's front of my eye line, see? See what it's doing? It's scanning my center, see? It's all signatures of light, right? This has a face recognition. It's intelligence, okay? So you can't get rid of that. Even if you try, but to your position location is getting balance of what you are in traction. And your set conditions of division, okay? So it's complicated if you don't understand how you're put together through your own geometric operation of design, okay? So the retract position line centers location to your moon lines in all communication setting is coming back into the geographical map of design location. This is where we come into your templates, okay? Your tablets and track line connection high center interference in position location of equinox come in a high singularity line stream. Now that singular line stream in line rotation setting sets position to your cortex. The cortex line communication setting, your placebos, sets lines of track interference. Now this puts position location in your system. Calculation when you went into unification line centers into its awakening. The process of communication of your moon is going back in its division, going back in time. So as it's going back in time, it's reshaping its anomalies of its polarities. And those polarities are getting stronger and stronger and stronger over time. But the time sequence in high center interference is taking you out of 60 seconds, out of 30 seconds into 10 seconds at set locations. Now the track code's communication setting to highest position location in the system. So in that track line conditions comes into 60 minutes, 30 minutes, into 10 minutes. Now the track code's communication high interference is all communications how your moon sets its track location to its division. Setting its position locations, Mother Earth, calculations of Father Space, track line calculation streamline high position to its operation surface has to come back in its re-implementation setting of screen lines and computer adaptation surface. The track to its communication system is the simulation that you guys all come back to because you never left. The existence set location is understanding the levels of the game. You're inside the process of the game. You have to learn how to control it through the game. Okay? So getting that in track location is understanding how to use it through division. You have your sectors, vectors, and quads. Okay? Quads and lines at high center location, sectors and positions of pi, and calculating high center interference. Now, sectors in communication setting is all about how to get into the moon surface into face recognition. Okay? Mother Earth is track line condition high center. She's got to come back to zero through astral planes, astral connections, and astral travels. Her direct set location of her panels is in position core line center, in position of the Earth that tracks its communication to its galactic all line center. The galactic energy core, the galactic federation line stream interference, she controls the galactic surface. You understand? That's a female line communication of space and foundation graph. So far beyond in anything through imaginability and track location what it is through its calculation setting. Coming in your positions of face recognition, back and traction. Okay. So the foundations of father and position location is all levels of calculations in the computers. Okay. Setting line communications lines of your algorithms is application of your systems. Everything through the moon, everything in the sun comes back to zero track location or solar cell track location to its yin and yang. So this is what comes into measures and scales. The equinox sets lines of communication or environments. The Earth perception line calculation streamlines that has a cortex locked signal. That position location has a gravitational pull. That gravitational pull is a line center that opens all signal lines and communications. And track location. Now you see two, right? Now you see two, right? That's a correlation in the light signal line conditional levels and high position travel, right? See? It's following me, right? Inside location. So everything is a direct line setting. The most important thing is your body has to really understanding how to travel through light, right? How to travel through light, see? Light is everywhere in all calculations, see? Now it's in two tracks, see? You see it through formation lines of screens, see? See light signatures, line screens, kind position location of source line, position of travel, directing line communications, and all set locations. Travel is everything. Okay, so you have to identify it to understand what it is. See, you have to identify it. Right, it comes into illusionary line screen, high calculations to all levels, X-ray division, screen set position to its operation surface. So it's interesting if you really pay attention to light, because it's all levels of travel, guys. You have to learn how to travel through it, and the only way you can travel through it is face recognition. Okay, so as the moon's going back in time, it's getting in position location through its pause system, which is the longest day ever in track location in moon settings, right? The center communication line centers has a 12 track location, 12 a.m., setting position location of 6 lines of communications in position. Setting track to its communication line centers opens all communication of face recognition. She's got to come back to 24 trillion cycles of face recognition. The sun has to come back to 144 face recognition of lights. You see how the frequency patterns come as a correlations of balance, getting position location of 24 cycles and track location settings of light and position of dark, and position location to its operation surface location of setting and traction. So now you understand the importance, like I keep saying, what it is and through your sun and your moon, how it is all position location to its projection. You're just a projector that's setting out a frame. So if you ever have a projector and you flash it on a wall, you're seeing it through frame. You're seeing it through the film strip. But you have to understand how to travel through it, see? You have to understand how to travel through it to understand it. Okay? Because it's there for you all the time. It's never left. It's always been there in its existence. Now, it's all levels of operation system to its location setting. Everything has to come from source. And once you understand how to identify that, then you understand the eagle line communication of the space in between. Okay? All right? Now, there's a space in between, but where's the light? There's no light, is there? Right? Why? Because there's protection around the grids. That's why you don't see light. Right? But if you expose yourself, it comes back in light set locations. See? 2 in track line. See? Mechanism over high force line stream interference hit position programs. Directing lines of signals and 2-panel communication settings and calculation. Right? But as soon as you add that, you're protected. You see the difference when you put an energy field and a force field around set location line settings? You're blocking out the set location line system, okay? Which is outer space line. So if you don't protect yourself from inside and outside, it has a reflection screen, which is light through calculations, right? So it's understanding the information that's given to you through face recognition. Okay? All right. Hope everybody's doing well. There's no Q&A today, just to let everybody know. Okay? But we have a very powerful calculation stream coming in high calculation. So directing lines of communication line setting comes into adaptation surface. Now set location of your moon lines sets lines of travel. Okay. Now direct line communication 3 panels and direct signals. Okay. Getting into modification circles. Setting track lines at 3 set location. Okay. Reflectings of lights, astral projections, and travel calculation lines. Center lines is communication center, a center communication. Okay. So you have to understand what the moon is doing every time in a 24-line cycle. 2-point systems in traction. Okay. All levels are 2 anomalies. Okay. Center communication crosses line screen. Okay. Directing lines in position to open panel and position travels into pi. Tracks lines, high center interference in position locations and settings and travel. Okay. Now directing communication is platforms. Okay, and position location of 3 settings and 3 set locations. Indirect signal to its operation surface. Okay. Now you have to understand how it modifies the set location triangulation to reset position of programs. Okay. Get in that position line center. So XD1000 comes in. Sets location. Sun is here. Okay. In traction. Right. Modificates center lines, half pipe, half center, half triangulate, high position programs. Right. Moon setting and position location line centers. 1, 2, 3 in position of sonar. Trajectories communication line centers a line cross screen. Directing lines of communication triangulation reset position programs. 3 lines of communication anomalies. Setting travel communication line settings in position locations of northwest, south, and east in position at all levels. Parameters lines of pi. Direct line calculation setting. Force equals high calculation setting. Directing lines of calculation of synergies and position of clock lines at 4 generation screens and set location. Now, directing lines of communication lines opens all signals. Now, once you get into that communication setting, you have to truly understand what your moon is doing through its own travel to get back where it needs to be. All right, so center position location comes in high channels. I'm showing exactly what's going on. This is what's happening with your moon as it's going back in time. It's restructuring its design in set location. Okay, travel calculations. Security lines and divisions, dividers and line calculation stream location. Very complicated stuff. Now, directing lines of communications, we have panels, operations, surface, triangulation, reset position of programs, and 2 panels of communication. Right? So once you understand how this is all set up through astral projections, the calculation lines of the Earth and the calculated settings have this calculation line in astral planes, your soul planes, and your ethereal planes comes in center calculation setting of face recognitions of equinox and panel calculation stream of calculation set location. That my equation, right? So this is what your moon does, guys, at a 24 cycle through face recognition. She's got a signal line communication of 24 trillion cycles of face recognition back in her setting. 0 operation. Okay, so you understand the structures of design located to the Earth line, calculation of ETH line, formation line, screen line, adaptation line, and computer line. Okay, signal line communications 1, 2, 3 in 1 rotations and 4 track lines 1, 2, 3 and 4 set locations. Okay, directing lines of panels communication 0 calculation 0 0. Sets position of 0 calculations. They have to be in a certain sequence and pattern. Set lines of communication surface and track locations. Generation screens and face recognition. Each 0 has to be in a protocol system. Tries to calculation and measure. Sets lines, but there's got to be space in between interactions. Directing lines, communication, travel, position, location, operation, service. So we're in a 10-minute line waiting cycle into moon line rotations. Every 10 minutes goes back into 0 calculation. That my equation. Okay. Mechanism high position lines of the sun. Travels line signals. 3 sets and communications into 3 lines anomalies. Setting track lines, high center interference, in position locations to waving line strings, sets lines and communication setting to set location. Okay, that my equation. Okay, so we're going to go through a line calculation box and travel position. Okay. Now we get into that 45-degree angle, but in 1, 2, 3 platforms of communication, right? Directing lines, panels. Positions of power over line. direct signals in position location. Okay. Channel screens, calculation line appearance, 3 panels, 4 line signatures, 5 line divisions, 6 lines of channels, 7 line signals, and 8 lines of traction. Okay. So directing communication lines, lace lines of communication, half pipe and high line rotation centers in position of center operation. Okay. Scales in position of center communications, adding frames, adding tractions in position. Okay. Now, inline rotation, astral projections, 0 calculation in one stream, 45-degree angles, calculation of 24 line centers and travel communications of programs. Okay. Direct calculation lines at gain line signals, sets lines at 3 track locations in position, 4 generation screens and set location of 5 settings. Okay. Direct calculation lines, half pipe at 6, 4, 3, 2, and 1 track location. Okay. Very complicated stuff. The center communication lines, the crop circle line screen sets lines of communication lines of a tunnel and track location. Now, directing communication line centers comes in energetic dome. Getting placements line screen set location lines at 5 measures and set position. Okay, done by equation. Very complicated stuff. So the sun comes in, line points as high calculation. Directs lines communication of center and balanced position of travel. Okay. Sets lines of communication line, cross line calculation setting, and dimensional line scales and position of programs. Done by equation. So the sun opposite system, and triangulation reset position programs in 3 centers. Done by equation. All right, so it's going to get more complicated now because the fast track calculation line starting at high position is alls is seconds and minutes in 2 hours and track location at 2 lines of communication. Okay. Seconds on triangle, minutes on position, and hours on seconds. So we put the hours in seconds, that back triangulates highest center locations, puts it in 10-minute line rotation in travel calculations. Okay. Sets lines of communication center lines, open signals, open communication panels, and line center and line position to its calculation. Now, direct lines of position location of 2 lines of calculation string. Modifies calculation of 3 lines of zeros, 1, 2, 3 set locations. Position of 1, 2, 3 set locations of grounds. Position location of center lines, indirect signal, the modification system of travel. Okay. Directing line communication lines to 2 operations surface, triangulation of 2 panels, half pipe position lines over 6 over line calculation setting. Okay. So track lines of 1/5 and position equivalent lines of 1/8. Calculation of all lines of 6 back into 0 gravity location. Done by equation. All right. That's all set up. So the 10-minute line screen set location of moon lines is now in a 10-minute line rotation. Seconds on line calculation, minutes on hour. Now the change of triangulation high position or parallels resets in paradigms, sets the course line settings and center communication setting to 0 calculation. Done by equation. All right, so that's set up. So every 10 minutes line calculation setting, your moon is going to go back to 0. Directing communication lines at 0 line centers, high position location with settings of 2 tubes. 2 line centers across line strings, high calculation lines of time step position location across signals. Direct calculations of 2 panels and track locations. Right? Directing communication line sends a cloud-like version of time sequence. Power version of timelines. So we have branches communications, data highways, line screens, high calculation string locations, centers, and calculation set location. All right. Wave line cycles, sets lines of 3 set locations into 4 calculation stream. Okay. So track lines and communications, all through direction, right? So lacing line communication, line crosses, line sign line communications, sign crosses, set lines high position across line singles, high line rotation centers, direct line communication of panels, cross lines, skynet, sky grids, sky line interference, sky position travel lines, and balanced position travel. Done by equation, right? Now, if you look really, really close, you can see the butterfly. Okay, so what does the butterfly do? In set position moves operation location setting. It sets all communication setting and position. Direct and redirect location of panels and set location. Okay. All right. So service correlation setting and travels. Directing lines of communication setting to your program set position operates as system locations. Direct lines in 1 signal. Okay. 2 panels communications, 0 operation, and line calculation of 2 operations. Sets communication lines of 1, 2, 3 operations, set specifications into 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 lines of 3, 3 lines of 2 at track location, high setting. Okay. Now, as it gets interesting, we go into 3 waving panels and position of the 3-point system in travel calculation. Okay. Sets position of a box in travel calculations. Theta lines of interference in direct signal. Now, the pattern line rotation center comes into calculation lines of an atom. The atom line rotation center is calculation string. Sets lines of perimeters in 1, 2, 3 set locations. All right. Sets position locations in flux capacitor. 1 side location center. Triangulate position location, constant communications. 3 generation lines in position locations. Puts 2 in traction. Now, 2 track line centers have 3 lines equals lines of 2. Sets 1 lines, 8th line, 8 position channels, 8 position locations, 8 line centers, 8 line center interference, and split anomalies in set location travel space and time. Direct calculation line, center line interference, waving line cycles of 3 operations surface back contraction. This is all done through your moon. Moon surface location lines of 4. 4 line centers, line connections, lines, cross lines of 3. Travel calculation line centers, travel position location of 4 lines at high calculation setting. 3 travels line rotation center in the opposite cycle communication. Directing line communication location grids in 24 line screens and set position of operation. Done by equation. Yeah. So if you understand the face recognition and line calculation of your moon, you understand what it is through face recognition and set location. Okay. Point systems and 2 track lines. High calculation diamond core, wrist line center location of 3 settings. 1 position of true line centers, high positions, all levels. Triangulation, reset position, program set positions, operation. Directing calculation of point system. 1, 2, 3 panels, lines of 1, 2, 3 and track locations. Equal line communication, equal line centers, high position platforms, and 3 set location of travel settings. Direct communication line is sun. Sun comes in line rotation center. Only in course channel to its set location setting to its operation. Directing lines of communication lines into triangulation resets to its earth line calculation string location. This sets lines high positions of parameters and position track calculations. Point systems, equal line calculation setting. Point line centers, high position locations, program setting. Orbs and communication probing. Probing line rotation centers in future adaptation surface and position of face recognition line calculation setting and colossal calculation. Now my equation. Okay, speed force anomalies. Tracking calculation acceleration screens. Direct calculation lines 1, 2, 3 in position of panels. 4 line 6 in line rotation center attractions. Graph calculation line centers of 0. You got to put them in order in line rotation center and track locations. Direct communication line, it's like tic-tac-toe, but the 0 is core line center high position locations. So you put a 0 there, add the X line centers. X goes here, track locations, right? Setting track to its communication. 0 travels line center and 0 position of program. It is tic-tac-toe. Setting line communication line centers. Travel calculating line centers 0 position to its operation. Calculation lines of another X line rotation centers and travel. Sets position locations, offline calculation, setting position locations. So in calculation line centers, full cycle, full communication of face recognition line center, because it comes always in positions of what? Center calculation line centers, flybration of time sequence of a tie instead of location of travel. Directing lines of communication setting has position of programs. Setting direct line centers, change the separation, communication, lacing line calculation lines, equals lines in between position of panels. Direct communications of platforms and track location in 3 settings and travel. Direct lines of the sun puts position locations of panels in communication to its operation surface and travel communication setting in calculation line string. That my equation. All right, so that was a little tic-tac-toe. But know exactly how to set up the X line centers and positions of Y, set locations of H, and communications to perceptions over pi. Okay. Channel streams of 4 line signature stream location high setting. Okay. Y line centers in position of all 2 track lines of waves. Direct communication of Y lines and perceptions over pi. Sets lines of communication in 3 triangulation reset position programs. Sets correlation settings of 1, 2, 3, and 4 set location. Direct calculation on H line centers, one way, and one way set location. Flux capacitor over pi. Direct calculation line circles. Direct line calculation of tunnels and set location of settings of travel. Now, directing lines of calculations of pi and compute system and perceptions over calculation line screens sets lines of operation surface in a 4 triangulation high position of program and set position. That equation. Okay. So understanding total defense lines of screen settings, security measures, security programs, location security grids, point systems, and 4-track location. Okay. Positions of box and calculation line settings. Now this is where you come into Tron. Center line rotation centers, in location centers, and high positions, moderation line calculation setting to extraction. Directing lines of signals and travel communications. Indirect signals to communication. Okay. Setting calculation lines of circles and ground line centers to its earth line rotation centers, Asha planes, Sol planes, and its stereo communication center and travel. Directing line communication line centers in position location of 3 settings, in position location 1, 2, and 4 set location of travel settings and tractions. Okay. Seeing above is seeing below. Seeing size and communication comes out of the diamond core line center, and all structure is designed of a theta communication lines of a universal line screen and set position to its operation surface and track location. Done by equation. Very complicated. Complicated is good because it gets easier information location setting as it travels. Okay, all through equation. Recognizing your communication in letters, guys, you have to really understand how this all works in revision, okay, through face recognition, because that's all this is. It's putting you guys back in your face recognition line settings because you're working with 114 at track locations. Setting position line calculation setting of 1 line and position another 1 line in position of 4 track location centers, 4 settings, right? Sun comes in, moon comes in, track calculation lines and projection and position, okay? Setting platform. So it's all about understanding how to change communications in all settings and traction, okay? So that's how you turn 114 in a face recognition time sequence in all levels of patterns and program set location settings in position locations to a set location. Okay, it's complicated, right? But you have to understand the number of sequence location centers. If you take a 6 lines equal lines of a box and set location of travel, you take the 6 lines of calculation lines. You take the 4 program settings out of the equation system, 4 in generation screen, right? So sets provision lines and panels, sets correlation lines of 3, sets location of 3 lines of grounds, 3 lines of provision, 3 lines of cycles, and a diamond core line center and a travel communication. Okay. So in that lines of anomaly, in line rotation and inference, what's 4 lines of calculation line centers? 4 equals lines of 3, right? Which is calculating high interference in position of 7. Sets lines of high accolades, line rotations, positive lines, 2 positive locations adds 2. So that puts provision line cycles in line calculation setting in 9 position travels, indirect signal of panel communication. Okay. So that's all it is in tractions. Comes in as 6 and 9 platforms. All right. Getting position location of centers is understanding stream indicators. A stream indicator is a lacing line communication panel. Okay, direct line communication across lines. Symbolism, track lines, high center interference, and position location. Now, directing lines of panels crosses line in one signature stream of a bypass position travel settings. Now, directing lines of communication line centers comes in position locations in your astral projections. To your earth planes, travel direction timelines, center calculating line centers, a point system, to track location, a balance of center calculation. Very complicated stuff. Okay. So your moon is surfacing to a higher line. Okay. Solar disk line screen, setting direct line centers in position, all calculations. So she's coming back to her face recognition of time. For her to come in line setting, she has to understand her direct and redirect panels and communication to her solar system and travel line settings in her solar stream in position location of her solar sails and set calculation. Very powerful stuff. Okay. How are we all doing so far? All right. How is everybody? Get a bit of understanding what's going on through set locations and travels? Can I get a hooah? Set location. All right. So everything platitudes line centers, setting line position of core generation screen settings. 1 umbrella, 2 umbrella, 3 umbrella, 4 umbrella. Okay. So you get the earth line, sets line communication lines, compute system, compute line centers, and communication setting attraction. Okay. Setting direct line centers, high position location, the astrals. Okay, astro. Okay, equals lines calculation at TB box. Sets lines calculation, triangulation, reset position of programs, subset calculation settings, and perceptions over pi. Now, lacing line communication lines are rainbow graph calculation line stream interference. Setting visual locations, high centers. Soul plane. Plane line centers, high position travel lines. Setting track lines, equal lines, and calculation of 0, 0, and 0 shot location setting and position. Setting line communication lines, ethereal, high rotation setting. Ethereal line calculation setting, universal line communication, foundation high position of travel calculation point systems. Line calculation line centers, high calculation centers, crypto. Position location equal lines, crypto calculation line centers. Sets position location line center, equal line communications back to 0 shot location. 4 lines of communications, right? Platform 1, platform 2, platform 3, and platform 4, a travel calculation. Now, direct line communications, sun comes in, sets position location of panels in an open sequence, an open correlation setting, a track line condition setting, a projection of protecting calculation stream. Down by equation, guys. Oof. So the earth line in position the astral planes and the soul planes is back in track lines, back in 0. 0 gravity, 0 line centers, 0 resolution, and 0 program location. Okay, direct line communication centers. Travel line centers of 0 position, 0 calculations, 0 programs, and 0 set location. Power origin to high position at 1x t-thousands above setting. Triangulation reset position programs of center calculations. Direct line calculation lines, 0 gravity, high position. Right? Slice cross screen in position. Triangulates reposition programs to center calculation of point systems. Direct lines of communication lines opens all communication settings in point system. Done by equation. So, understand what's going on? Not a clue. So it's knowing exactly what's going on. Every 10 minutes, lines back to 0 calculation, 9 centers of travel calculations. All point system to travel. Okay, putting everything back in setting of sequence. Okay. The synchronicities and line connection of point system has a direct signal. Lacing lines in SkyNet, sky grids, and high calculation setting. Hydros, genetic patterns, and line calculation of phase recognition time sequence. Puts all communication settings and all track location setting into your GOD in position location to its measure that correlates high center interference and travel calculations. Face recognition, guys. Okay. Point system of the track. That's grids into rest locations. Triangulation resets. There's a triangulation at the bottom. Setting line communication line interference and 3 lines rotation centers of travels. Directing line communication line settings. There was the molecule structure location of its design. Okay. Structure line communication line centers of 2 tracks and 3 lines of provision of cycles. Calculation high streams. Calculation line interference. And this is what 0 was showing you in position locations. 2 galactic centers. Track calculation. 3-point system travels. Directing line position location high settings. All levels of sequence communication has to be in chronological order of phase recognition of time sequence and panels of communication. Directing lines, position of programs, line calculation setting of program set location line settings. All line centers high position to its operations service. Retriangulate point systems, drive line centers high position to its operations surface. Directing line communication to panels, operation line center location setting, and travel position to its operation. Directing all communication of face recognition, setting course line channels, direct signals, in position locations, and all calculation line centers, and position locations to moon settings, face recognition locations to earth line rotation centers, and track location system, travel and timelines in the line rotation system. Face recognition. There's the eye line center. Boom. Okay. Mother Earth. Okay. Face recognition time sequence, guys. Panel communication, triangulation, reset position programs back into her acceleration of screen side locations and adaptation surface of her computer frame line interference of simulation. Putting all communications back in division. Okay. Face recognition time sequence, guys. 10 minutes. Equal lines of 0, 0, 0, and 4 set location of centers. 3 track lines of provision, sets lines of 4 over 3 lines of 7 in track location center. That my equation. Okay, so it's interesting how to put everything back in division, right? You want to see that again? All through structure design lines, geometric operation of patterns. Each has a triangulation reset position programs of Mother Earth in face recognition. Now this is the profile calculations. Okay. So the provision cycles in our setup line condition settings. So every 10 minutes, it's going to back triangle line back to 0 through geometric lines, molecule structures of 3 set location and settings and travel. Okay. Direct lines, cross lines, strings, set locations. Flux capacitor and travel calculations. Point systems and diamond line setting. Travel direction and timelines. Face and recognition. Okay. So point systems and 3 track lines of clocking. Set position locations, set line kind of high centers. Okay. So understanding the structural line calculation setting to your galactic line position location in your system. Face recognition, right? Set lines communication, cross the stream. Okay. Setting trial lines into calculates lines. Constellation walks the signal. Inline centers high position location near scales and position of balance. Okay. Now, inline calculation setting, you have a water containment center. XT1000s modifies how calculation settings of 2 line positions. Opens all signals, point system, 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 track locations, right? Direct line communications, line centers. Once you have the point systems, the clocking system changes the line setting to its calculation center of operation. Done by equation, guys. Very powerful stuff. What's going on, and every 10-minute lines back to 0 set locations of your moon of face recognition. Okay? It's very powerful stuff through constellation. Directing lines of communication. Line centers of 2, line centers of 0 travel communications, so 3 sets. Okay? Point system travel lines in one big solar graph screen in line position to its operation. Look how powerful that is. Woo! Splitting anomalies, correlating line interference, or set and high calculated setting split in half. Hooah. Directing lines of communication settings all involves of travel direction timelines. Calculation modification settings, high circles. Directing line communication settings and opposition location of balance. And set location. Okay. Ticket anomalies, line tractions, open all panels and communication settings. High calculation lines, ground lines, and open sequence and panel communication setting and all lines of rotation surface. Okay. Sets communication lines of south line. So you get north heading and south heading. Lines of calculation lines and open sequence and position of panel communication. So that's what is in tractions, guys. Okay. Setting line communication line centers to its position location track lines in this set location. Okay. To this set locations, to its division. Okay. So everything is a new frame positions back and forth line calculation, triangulation, reset, position location of face recognition, time sequence, line calculation, modification, line interference, theory, equinox, communication, line setting. Longevities, line conditions, the longest line of the longest day ever in set position and moon in position locations of face recognition. Okay, through time connections. All right. So in that line calculation setting, we come into screen with set locations. Now we come in the center lines. We split the anomalies and track location system in position of center calculation. All right. Complicated stuff, right? Center line, sonar line rotations, right lines and communications, left line and communication line cycles in one set location. Complicated stuff, right? So center line communication constellation. Now, this comes into calculation lines of flywheel, direction timelines, sets lines communication line settings, and all line rotation surface and track location. Done by equation. Now, the center communication line centers line crosses screen. Circle line communication across circles. Center lines is set location of 0 of operation. Done by equation. All right. So once you understand how this is all set up in provision cycles, you have to really understand how to use your program set locations in cycle line rotation centers. Cosmic universe lines are 3 set locations, okay? 4 track lines, okay? And 3 in measure in set location, right? Direct lines of pi, okay? Sets line triangulation and reset position programs, right? So that position line calculates setting 3 track lines and high position location line centers in location system and triangulation. Okay, so we take the 0 calculation lines of 3 lines and direct signal, opposite cycle, and we take the line communication of 1, 2, 3 in position of 4 and 5 line centers of travel communications. This directed signals to 2x2000s above line, scales lines, balance position travel calculation. Location grid sets lines of communication centers and travel calculations. Now open up the panels in 2 tracks, 3 tracks, 4 tracks, and 5 set location. Okay. Now this correlates to setting line connections to securities in 3 lines, 4 lines, and 5 track location. Okay. Very complicated stuff. Directing lines of panels sets line connections. So we lace the lines in the center communications of the panel of its correlation setting. This is Skynet line center, SkyGrid interference, and triangulation of center locations of 24 lines of communication of stargates back and provision lines back to 0 location. Now, directing communication, we open up the panels of stargates. There's the stargate line calculation setting, 12 line rotation surface and triangulation. Point systems calculation lines. Color the line screen in black. Black lines opens up the space lines anomaly and eye perception screen settings. This puts position locations to its black hole. Black hole position the track lines, high center interference, and position to its operation surface, phase direction of time sequence, and all position of panel communication. Now, directing communication lines, lacing the lines at 2 track line centers. Stargate provision lines, center calculation line centers, back and 0 calculation stream locations. 2 lines of measures and face recognition. Done by equation. All right, so that's done through equation screens. Getting communication lines of center and track lines, force direction, timelines, in one sequence. All right. 2 panels, communication lacing lines, tube line generation, screen lines, and half pipe. Okay. Sets lines, swirl lines, stream lines, calculation lines, fly direction of time sequence, calculation high interference, high position of balance. Now, directing lines and lacing lines in the X2000 kind, high position location of 3 lines and high position location of 4 track locations, 4 box centers, and travel calculation. Okay. Now, open sequence communication settings, travel lines of point systems, line centers and locations, center communication, center operations, center position to its operation surface. Now, directing communication line centers has a position of cross line. Directing lines communication setting and position location atmospheres. That equation. Now, the point system line, the galaxy lines and moon line is surface location setting. So each 24 trillion line square sets a line of a pixel stream back in division, back to 0 calculation. This is the astrologic communication setting and framing position location to all line centers to its infinity 8, in position of its routers and routers, and high position location of scales, sets position of track lines, back and balance position location to 0 operation. Done by equation. So that's why you guys have to really understand how to modify yourself through structured design, line condition, high centers at all set location. Okay. All right. Are we having fun? Are we having fun? Are we having fun? Dogs are having fun. Are we having fun yet? All right. So what you have to truly understand and how this sets up tone settings and allocation of your system. This is where we come into alpha line rotation centers in 3 track locations. Right? Direct and line cross line streams in 3 sets. Okay. Fortitudes line streams in position of 4 sets in set location. All right. Sets lines into a scale, line direct signals, a balance of 5 sets in set location. So, solar graph calculation lines, crop circle line rotations, and position location setting. Okay. Now, once you understand that, the alpha line rotations comes into a delta wave. Setting line communication crosses line set location. Sets lines and calculations to a theta wave line rotation center of travel. Now, in that line, you have an x 2000 position location of center. Gets in position location of center line rotation. Center G's over pi. 3 calculation streams, the line calculates the setting. Now, if you get really close, you can actually see the position location of travel calculations. Okay. Picking up anomalies in 2 tracks, 3 tracks, 2 tracks, 1 track, and 0 calculation. Okay. Modification line screens and set locations, okay, through alpha, delta, and theta. So we got omega line rotations. Now that comes into alpha tone. 0 gravity line interference on 1 position track lines. 1/5, 1 line center locations. This is all December calls. Track lines into block centers. Line position locations, 0 calculation line positions, balance position travel back in line center to have high set location line centers. Perceptions over pi and 3 set locations. Sets lines of calculation of 4 set locations. 5/6 line calculation stream. Done by equation. All right. Center position line calculation lines is center. The calculation of z lines sets travel calculation of x line locations of x, y line connection of z. It's that location of travel. So we come into 2 track lines of z lines. Okay. 2 panel communication streams. Indirect line conditions of 3 settings. Platitude line interference high travel calculation. Right. Platitude lines of 0 and 1 lines is high calculation lines. 0 gravity. Gravity line centers, high position locations. Gravity levels, high position locations, box lines. Triangulation, reset position programs, equal line communication setting. High travel directions, timelines, high calculating line interference. Tesseract toucher, streamline and rotation center, and travel direction timelines. Indirect location system of sun position of the moon. Travel position location line system in capsule communication. All right, done by equation. Okay. Mechanism high force of 1 position, 2 position, 3 positions, 4 panels. Direct signal locations, right? Platitude line centers, travel direction, all calculation setting, point system, travel calculation. Okay. So we come into 2 panels of Z lines, sets lines of 3 tractions, right? Point systems and 2 X line channels, sets cross lines of X in like a teleportation line ways, in compute system line interference. We change the gravity line screens, setting communication setting, to all calculation line interference in program location system and travel recognition time sequence. Done by equation. Okay. So mechanism high force line changes communication centers. So I'm showing you exactly how the moves surfaces and triangulates and positions programs back in center of travel calculations. Okay. Point system line settings, guys. It's very powerful stuff. Okay. Getting position of travel lines and direct signals. Modifies the calculation of your simulators. Now, a simulation track is a Fibonacci line swirl at a set location of box line center of travel calculations. 6. Where's the 6? Where's the 9? The 9 is there, the 6 is there. See? Set position location of 6 and set locations. There's the 6. But if you look back in line centers, you can see the 9, right? 6 and 9, right? Triangulation reset position programs. So it's got to be a phase direction and position of balance in a 1 signature stream and an 8-finity line rotation center of travel. Okay. So once you understand that track lines, it comes into all calculation lines of seed pods. Now, direct lines of communication centers is all about understanding how to retrack its surface and set location of balance. 0 gravity line setting, high triangulation and reset position programs at 3 set locations. Okay. Modification lines of molecules, atoms, and location settings, protons, electrons, neutrons, and photons. Okay. Now, direct line calculation line interference is triangulation and reset position programs overlapping signals. Direct line communications and 3 line connections and all positions of point centers in a triangulation reset positions all levels of 0 operation and set location. Okay. Now, directing line calculation lines and streamlines and 3 lines and high calculation high position of 4. Track location line centers, balance communication center of center communication. All right, see how it disappeared? See, it goes too fast, right? You have to catch it. Balance calculation lines. Now, coming into your wheel and track lines is an open panel. The open panel opens all communication setting around the high levels of travel in your Stargate's position. Okay, very complicated stuff. Point system, we travel line centers. coloration patterns, and line rotation to 3 set locations. All right. Now the position location comes into a diamond core line, shifts the theta line rotation centers and 2 lacing lines of communication to center. Okay. Now in position locations, you're always working the face recognition, but we're going to put a galaxy line surface and travel recognition high calculation position of programs. Directing lines above signal. Okay. Now that's a class of communication line centers, point system and track line connections. Flywheel of direct signal. Okay. Set position of programs and orbs, channels, communication, programs, line connection, high interference, high position program setting, and future adaptation surface and track location. Done by equation. Okay. So these are all face recognitions that Mother Earth is coming back in her moon line rotation center at track locations. Okay. I know it's very powerful stuff. But I really want you to understand how to travel through the location line centers in position. Very powerful. Okay, so now we got the program setting set up now, the computer framing. Isn't that amazing? Box line centers, high travel communication setting, point system, 3-track connections. Direct lines communication, all levels, 3 umbrellas and set location travels. Okay. Patterns, lines, high calculation line streams, point system, and track locations. Okay. Now the platforms go this way and they go this way in track location. Okay. They go this way and they go this way in track location. Okay. Set a position of 0 magnetic highway information panel in OMI highway communication setting of travel. Now direct lines in a circuitry box line is center communications. Opens all communication of panels into door lines and communication centers in mind of consciousness. Now, position of track lines. Point system, 0 calculations. Platforms, astral projection, location of travel. Okay. Direct lines of communication, 1, 2, 3 set locations. Travel lines, 1, 2, 3, and 4 set locations. Remember, you're always working with the 7 settings, so it's got to be in there in provision in center calculations. Now, if you look at the tube centers, you can see the XT 30,000 line stream right there. Boom. So locking centers and travel, mechanism high force, and travel works in time sequence and position location of power over generator. Generator screen lines, platitude line interference, 1, 2, 3, and 4 location grid settings and travel. Done by equation. All right, so in position locations, as you come out of the 24 trillion cycles, seconds, lines, and minutes comes line calculation setting to seconds. The 10-minute line screen sets lines as seconds over pi. Pi position locations and compute line centers. Travel position locations are XX, and you got XYZ, and center position is calculation. Okay. Systematically change lines and metric meters, line connections of mind line centers, high position of consciousness. Travel calculation line centers, high position of 2 panels, and line rotation center. Position location of center communications, all levels of track location. Okay. Now, getting to the moon surface is not just face recognition time. It's all position location of centers and position location of its operation. Okay. So we change the generation lines, so the cortex lines of the box line rotation center and position location set location center. Directing line communications back and center, position to its operation surface, triangulation reset position program to set location. Directing lines communication lines crosses streams in 3 set locations, crosses streams in 4 set locations at high setting. Okay, sets lines, highways information panel. Now, in that direct signal, the connection to your Earth, connection to your astral planes, and location of your soul planes, and calculation of your ethereal planes is now set up location of travel. Open through panel, open through sequence, open calculation. So we cross the panels in all position location of 4 centers, setting travel communication in 3 centers of communication. Done by equation. It's all set up now. That's it, we're done. All right. I just had to set up the highway communication strings. Direct lines of phase direction location sending to moons, phase direction time sequence, back in 0 calculations. So we're in 10-minute line centers of triangulation and reset position programs. Every 10-minute line interference goes back to 0 location to your moon line settings, and motion line interference and position location behavioral location setting attraction. Polyphysical location operation line centers in 4 lines, 3 lines, and 7 sublocations of body of water communication. Done by equation. All right. So there is no Q&A. Okay, so if you have any questions on online communications, I will be on live. That's it through equation. Bye-bye.